I'm a political scientist. I'm a faculty member of political science and public administration at Middle East Technical University, Ankara, Turkey. And all my degrees are from political science and public administration programs. But what I do is more development studies. I work on many issues that is concerning inequalities, poverty, exclusion, marginalization. I did some works on rural development, regional development in Latin America, in Mexico, and some rural and urban social movements studies on Turkey. And recently, in the 5 years or so, I began concentrating on rural development and agrarian change from a political economy perspective. So probably in the last 2-3 years, I am focusing towards food politics. Well, actually, in the past 15 years, there has been an increasing attention on climate, food, and sustainability issues. And it is also going parallel with the worsening life conditions, perhaps, both in the urban area and also in the rural towns, villages. So there has been a crisis tendencies, both in the urban poor and also for the producers' side. So probably due to those multiple crises taking place at the same time, we have witnessed from the academia or as citizens of the country, we have witnessed increasing emphasis or increasing attention on those issues. So it is affecting the academia, of course. So we began researching, becoming more interested in those more urban-centered alternative food networks. So it is perhaps, that attention or that the increasing concentration of the crises on those issues, and obviously the climate crisis is at the center of it, motivated us to work on those issues. And this project came, as we were beginning to be more concerned about those issues. So I myself contributed and become a part of the team as I was individually or as an academic beginning to work on these issues. I think we need to trace this story from the 10 years ago. Exactly in these months, in the June 2013, there was this Gezi movement, Gezi protests, centered in Istanbul, but then later on during the month of June, it spread all over the country. And those movements, those protests were actually making a statement about the urban commons and about the nature, and how the urban commons and how the urban space was commercialized, was seen as simply opportunities for new investment and for more profit. And we, at the time, those crazy, they were called, crazy projects of the third bridge, a new airport, and a new shopping mall at the center of the city, Taksim Square, and a new mosque at the center of the Taksim Square. And there is this park, one of the few little public spaces that the city was breathing there. So those, those assault on the nature, on the commons, the urban commons, actually triggered and accelerated the already existing discontent of the urban population against this, sort of market-ridden government or management of the city. So the Gezi resistance probably had this triggering effect on this already existing, but perhaps gradually moving, gradually increasing attention or concerns about the nature, about the urban commons and the climate change. So from then on, from the Gezi resistance on, we are observing multiplication, mushrooming, or acceleration of these concerns of the environmentalist movement, ecologist movement. We can think of it had existed, but probably the Gezi resistance had a triggering effect, the accelerating, multiplying effect on it. So it is, from that moment on, the energy generated during those weeks of the protest, later on channeled towards the, those concerns, the food network, alternative food networks. Right. So communities, local communities in the neighborhoods were in search of some form of organization, some form of alternative, not only to food networks, but alternative as such. Some space for maneuver. Our stakeholders are cooperatives and alternative food networks. At the center, there is a consumer cooperative. But there are different kinds of cooperatives, mainly on the consumers' side, but also on the producers' side. So we will be working with the cooperatives, and we will be working to strengthen their capacities, their organizational capacities, their marketing capacities, and their networking capacities. So that will be the center of our hub in Turkey. But also, in addition to the cooperatives, we are working with the municipalities, local level authorities. It is also related with the, authoritarianism, perhaps. The local level, the new municipalism literature is growing. On the one hand, there is an increasing attention to increasing authoritarianism. And on the other hand, there is an increasing attention on the local level, decentralization and local democracy. I see some link between those two, because as the top-down mechanisms are becoming more and more authoritarian, the local space is becoming more, there is space for it. It is a site for the urban or rural communities to do something for their lives. So at the macro level, once the politics, the regime is becoming more authoritarian, perhaps the local level becomes a scale that you can make a change. So the bottom-up mechanisms, the grassroots mechanisms are increasing, have been increasing in the past 15 years. So perhaps parallel to this, in the Turkish hub, we have two municipalities, and we have the Citizen Council of Istanbul, as perhaps we could call it a local governance body. It is not, strictly speaking, a local authority, public authority, but it is a local governance body that claims to take part in the decisions at the local level. So we will be, one of our main objectives in this, through this project, will be to boost, to support those local administrations, to form citizen councils, and to push those citizen councils towards food councils of the city, and to connect those food councils with the cooperative network in those regions. So to make it more equal partners for the food subsistence of the city. The history of cooperatives is very rich in Turkey. It has, it has historical background, going back to the beginning of the 20th century. So there is the history of cooperatives from the 1960s. From the cities to the towns, the rural producers cooperatives. It is, but in the neoliberal times up until since the 1980s, there was the slowdown of the cooperatives as an organization, business organization or business form. The companies were taking place, the cooperatives, and some of the subsidies of the state subsidies were decreasing for the cooperatives as a formal body, formal institution. So in that sense, the cooperatives have gotten weaker as an alternative, as an sort of sustainable business form. In the past years, there is an increasing, perhaps a new wave of cooperatives, and it is probably related with the crises that consumers or producers as well as consumers are facing. So there is an increasing search for some survival. I guess cooperatives come in there, and it is already in the repertoire. And it is already in the historical, past of the region. They remember the good examples. They remember the bad examples. In some regions, you have this bad example, and you have perhaps some more suspicion about cooperatives. But it is there in the back of their mind. It is an alternative, and it has been increasing. And there is I am sensing and meeting with my partners here with the other countries, there is an increasing wave of cooperatives, because it is really the survival strategy of the peasants, small peasants. If we don't pose this question about what is going to be the future of food production, it is absolutely sure that big companies are going to take over the production, food production. So it is either we keep the farmers, individual farmers, and we make them cooperatives and we make them stronger vis-a-vis the companies, or we will be relying on the big companies for our food in the next, 50 years, 100 years. Yep. So in that sense, I guess there is this, sort of parallel search for survival, and cooperatives were there, beginning of the 20th century, since perhaps, it's going back to the 19th century in many regions. So there is this collective memory bringing this alternative back into the agenda. Good, or the best scenarios is there is already increasing number of the consumer cooperatives, and after the pandemic, the urban population, urban poor, or urbanites have this more sensitivity about the food and the sort of sustainability of the food delivery. So it will continue, there will be more consumer cooperatives, hopefully in the best scenario, and our team, our hub, will connect them together. It is our objective to bring them together. We will organize meetings. Very simply, we will mediate the already existing cooperatives, and they are small and small-scale cooperatives. They perhaps know each other, but they don't know personally. They don't get together practically. So we will enable them getting together, learning from each other, co-creating, as the title goes. So we will co-create with them this network of cooperatives and try to boost them, try to support them, and try to strengthen them or they will strengthen themselves. The strength is in them already, as they hold hands together, and they will be an alternative to the big supermarkets, to the big companies, and they will buy the products from the farmers at a fair price, and with better contracts if there's a contractual relationship. So we will increase the number of the farmers that the consumer cooperatives are working with. We will increase the network of the cooperatives working together, and hence diversifying their products. And hopefully we will increase the number of the solidarity packages, or those packages that they are delivering to their members or to their customers. So we will try to enlarge this cooperative ecology. I would like to see food councils for every city, and not only the citywide, but also these ecological borders, because it is not, the cities are administrative bodies, but when we talk about food, we are talking about a larger border of ecological border, natural border. So I'm hoping that municipalities coordinate together, and they define an ecological border in terms of where they are bringing the food, or how the region is becoming more sustainable, and those regions have their food council with the participation of the citizens. So this is my a picture of a utopian, hopefully a real utopia scenario, and I am picturing a lot of cooperatives on the farmer's side and on the consumer's side, but also I am picturing a designer's cooperative to design the packages. I'm picturing a logistic cooperatives, doing the really trucks and not making all those producers and consumers depending on the big logistic companies. So I am picturing a chain of cooperatives at every link of this supply chain. Why do we need to change how things are? Well, the 1% is getting more and more of the world's wealth and assets. So there are multiple crises, multiple problems, multiple sufferings taking place in the present situation. And it is apparent that it is going to cause more and more poverty, more and more obesity, more and more illnesses. So if we let things, if they let the business as usual go like this, there will be more exclusion, there will be more marginalization, and I'm afraid the quality of food we eat is going to get worsened, because the market will try to make it more profitable. They will change the quality of tomato to make it more durable, or to make it more aesthetic, but not perhaps more nutritious. So in that sense, I feel that I am not a nutrition expert, but I feel that if we don't make a structural big change in this food system, the quality of human life and our daily lives will worsen and worsen every year, every decade. And I am concerned about the future generations. Perhaps we are still living through healthy lives until old age, many of us perhaps, but I'm really concerned about the 2 generation, 3 generation later.